Reading is often treated as a basic skill. Once people can decode words on a page, it's assumed the work is done. Understanding, analysis, and judgment are expected to follow automatically, but they don't. Welcome to Learning Reframed, Education Without the Noise. I'm Dr. Ken Feldman, and today this podcast looks at how learning actually works, inside real constraints, without the hype, without the shortcuts, or unnecessary complexity. Reading is one of the primary ways people encounter new ideas, new information. But reading and thinking are not the same activity. Many people read fluently and still struggle to evaluate arguments, connect ideas, or apply what they've read. The issue is not intelligence or effort. It's how reading is approached. In many learning environments, reading is treated as exposure. The assumption is that contact with information produces understanding. In reality, exposure is only the starting point. Critical thinking, a skill that is so needed, requires interaction with text. It involves questioning assumptions, noticing structure, and tracking how ideas develop. None of that happens automatically. One reason reading fails to support thinking is speed. Fast reading is often praised, but speed can bypass reflection. When readers move too quickly, they may capture the surface meaning without missing the nuances, implication, and the tension within the text. This is especially true with complex material. Slowing down is not a sign of weakness. It's often a sign that thinking is actually happening. Another issue is purpose. Many readers approach text with the goal of finishing rather than understanding. Completion becomes the metric. Pages replace ideas' grasp. When the goal is completion, readers are less likely to pause, reread, or question. Those behaviors feel inefficient, even though they're essential for comprehension. Critical reading works very differently. It begins with a question, not a requirement. What is the author trying to argue? What assumptions are being made? And what evidence is offered? And in fact, what's missing? These questions don't interrupt reading, they guide it. There's also a matter of working memory. Complex texts place high demands on attention. When readers try to hold too many ideas at once, your understanding fragments. Notes can help, but only if they create relationships rather than isolated facts. Highlighting everything feels productive, but rarely supports thinking. I've seen so many students, I look at their work and the entire page is yellow. It's like taking a broad brush. What matters more is identifying key claims and how they connect. And another overlooked factor is the emotional response. Texts that challenge beliefs or create discomfort often trigger avoidance. Readers will skim, disengage, or dismiss ideas prematurely. This is a very natural reaction, but it interferes with critical thinking. Staying with a level of discomfort without immediately agreeing or rejecting creates space for judgment to develop. So what actually helps? First, read with intent. Decide what kind of thinking the text requires before starting. Second, allow reading to be uneven. Some sections deserve careful attention while others do not. Third, externalize thinking. Brief notes, summaries, or questions help move ideas out of working memory and to a clearer form of learning. Finally, revisit important texts. Understanding often emerges on the second or in fact third encounter, not the first. Reading supports critical thinking when it's treated as an active process than a passive one. I rename lectures at one medical school, not lectures, but concept clarification sections. The idea of active learning and active process is key to learning. So reading becomes thinking when engagement replaces exposure. I'll say that again. Reading becomes thinking when engagement replaces exposure. The goal is not to get through the text, it's to let ideas take shape. You've been listening to Learning Reframed, and if today's episode resonated with you, please follow the podcast on your favorite platform, but give us a like on YouTube. And more importantly, if this episode resonated with someone, please share it with them. I'm Dr. Ken Feldman, and thanks for listening to Learning Reframed. See you next time.